probably one of the most important features Bethesda ever added to their games. It's the one thing everybody uses and everybody takes for granted. It's the reason why Unity and all those other game engines, Unreal for example, probably wouldn't do as good a job. And without this feature, Bethesda's game would not have been anywhere near as good as they were. Now, we're going to get into it now, but first understand, this is a rare feature. It's not something you see very often in games. And when you do see it in games, it's usually just one item. And I'm talking about mods and the override system that allows it to work. You see, if you install a mod in most games, it's only one mod. Before Bethesda, I think Bullfrog with Dungeon Keeper 2 were doing it. And I think there's a fewer games done like Total Annihilation, but they were official DLCs, not really mods. So you see, a lot of games just let you load one mod in and that's it. But Bethesda's allowed you to load multiple mods. So you could customise the game any way you like. And it all boils down to one feature, the override system. The system that allows one form ID to be overwritten by another. Now if you actually look at a mod and say you had a form ID 001 and it's here, and another mod edited 001 and it was here, then that mod would be read, but then it would be overridden by that one, so it might as well not exist. It'd be gone. If another mod down here overrid 001, then that one and that one would be gone. Might as well not be there. If this mod here had 001 and 002 edited, and this edited 001, it would still load and use 002, but this one would be supplying 001. Now, not to get too mathematical, if this one here, 001 and 002, and that was 001, and this was 002, then these two would load and that one wouldn't. That's how the system works. The idea is if you want to run multiple mods, then you run multiple mods that don't edit the same items. That's the official system. Now, I don't know if the people on the forums even understand the basics of this. I know they pretend to. I've had many arguments with them. Then they keep on going back to trying to run everything side by side and proving that they really don't understand what they're doing. But the system is both genius and dangerous at the same time. It's what allows us to have as many mods as we like. And the fact that Bethesda think, well, we'll leave it up to the player. The player can decide how many mods he wants to do, whether he wants to break his game, whether he wants to crash out every 30 seconds. That is the player's responsibility. We'll just supply them a means to have a series of mods installed and let them use it however they wish. So Bethesda placed a great deal of trust in their customer base. The upshot of that was that the forums exploded in the trolling and bad language and stalking, and some really nasty types, were involved in it. Some of them were well-respected members of the community to most people and quite right nasty to other modders. But it was because they thought the way to make their mods compatible was to bully everybody else into not making any more mods. They did it with me. I know what I'm talking about. Right? I decided to just mod on my own site. They cheered until they heard I hadn't actually stopped modding. I just wasn't modding for them anymore. So they wanted me to stop modding. They didn't want me to go mod privately. But anyhow, that's a long story. But the thing is, the override system is a very special system and it's unique to Bethesda's games. It allowed me, for example, to do the Return to Helgen mod, where Return to Helgen didn't edit Matty's Knights of the Nine Armour at all. But if you installed Matty's Knights of the Nine Armour after Return to Helgen, then the Knights of the Nine would wear Matty's Knights of the Nine Armour. If you didn't, then they'd be wearing ebony. So you see, there are ways of using these overrides to do wonderful things. If you listen to the forums and stuff, that's all dirty edits. But what is a dirty edit? A dirty edit is an unintentional edit. What I was doing was fully intentional. I designed it to work that way. Matty knew about it and he was happy with that. So when you installed his mod after mine, his mod appeared on my characters. There was no need for me to edit Matty's mod, no need for me to do anything other than set my mod up so my mods had armour in the same places his armour stored it in. So when his armour loaded, it overrode mine. It was the override system that allowed me to do it. Now, there's all kinds of rules that should never be broken when making mods, especially when you're a newbie and learning. Now, I broke most of them deliberately. When I was doing my this serial upgrade series, I frequently overrode my own work. For instance, I had a mod which on its own would use all its own files. You install another mod afterwards, it would upgrade that one and add additional data. So the whole serial upgrade overhaul became one mod, even though in reality it was made up of about 32 large quest mods. You see, so it behaved like a single mod. They communicated with each other. This is why Kvatch Aftermath and Kvatch Rising understood what was going on in other mods and vice versa. I mean, the Elder Council mod pretty much was talking to the Kvatch Aftermath mod and vice versa, because these conflicts allowed it to happen. Now, on paper, none of that should have worked. On paper, they were all dirty edits. In practice, that was the design feature that allowed my mods to do things no other mod maker had done in the community. And those that had tried failed or were shouted down by people that didn't understand what was happening. Usually tool makers and mod makers that were a bit jealous, in my opinion. Anyway, the override system is the thing that made Bethesda's games so popular. They rose above everything else. It's the system that made Bethesda's games classics. The reason why people play them for decades. It's also the reason why people have endless problems with mod lists and things like that. And Bethesda allowing us to do what we want was a very brave move, but it did lead to trouble. Now, if we look at the other games in the community that you see, the other developers with their one mod, one game system, if you come from the modding background I had, from that system into Bethesda's world, the first time you realise that you can run as many mods as you like, and you start understanding the rules, poof, your mind blows, possibilities out there. My first inkling of what system this was, I was posting on a forum talking to people who I thought were decent people who knew what they were talking about. I later found out they were trolls that had no clue, they were just on massive ego trips. But they didn't understand what I was saying. They felt they understood the override system, but they didn't see the possibilities. That was proven in the work they did, which caused lots of conflicts. When I did the same thing with my CUO mod, which is another overhaul, it didn't conflict wildly with everything. In fact, it fixed many of the problems these other overhauls had, which caused a massive argument again because they wanted to look like they knew what they were doing, and here I was fixing all their problems for them remotely without touching their work. Because I understood the overhaul system, I understood the power of it, I understood what the potential was, and I used it in my work. And this is the thing, bash patching, merging, all that isn't strictly necessary. People have to learn how to take advantage, have to learn to understand the scope of the system that made Bethesda's games so famous, that allowed us to run the kind of mods we like to run. And from that point on, miracles can happen in the game. Now, I always enjoyed modding Bethesda's games because of this system. And every now and again, I'd realise that if I just put a rock there and named it, and I had this mod, look in that location for that mod, and if it found it, it would know that mod was installed. Then I could do all kinds of stuff. That's two mods communicating without the need of an ESP, an ESM file. Then I went from there. I just started piecing bits together, and next thing I know, I've got 32 quest mods all talking to each other without conflicting. Most people out there try to make two quest mods, they'll conflict with each other. They'll have to make patches to fix it. I've got 32. They all work together, no issues. There are very few issues with anybody else's mods either. That should tell you how much thought went into this and how deep I went down that rabbit hole to understand just how good this override system that Bethesda came up with is. Because it is unique. Other games might have multiple mods, but nothing like Bethesda's game system exists. It's nothing I've come across. It is unique. It might have its problems, but there isn't another system as flexible or as tolerant as that one is. And yes, it causes problems. Yes, it causes arguments. Yes, people don't fully understand it. And yes, people like to preach to people and pretend they do when they really don't. But Bethesda trusting us to work it out ourselves is the reason why that happens. And if they hadn't, we would not have the kind of epic scale games we've got today. Because Bethesda needed the boost from the modding community to make their games famous, to give them the money to make bigger and better games every step of the way. We made the staircase Bethesda climbed to make Starfield, for example. They made the game, they gave us the tools, they said, build me a staircase and we'll make better games next time. And that's how it worked. It was a self-fulfilling prophecy. It was always going to end with a classic game at the end. And each new game has been better than the last. And it started with that override system. Think about it. You know I'm right. See you in the next one.